This is WWE NXT superstar Lexis King, and you're listening to the Source Wrestling Podcast. Long live Lexis King.
You're looking at the best
Austin
316.
What do you guys want to talk about?
I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.
Let me talk to you. Yeah.
You will rest in
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back for episode 20. That is 20 of The Source, WWE, AEW, All Things Wrestling Podcast with Joe
and
Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we start anything, we want to special thank Lexis King, WWE NXT superstar Lexis King, for the shout on today's show. You will be hearing him throughout episodes as we go. Today, it is a Battle Royal open discussion, and we have a lot of hot topics that we're going to cover today. Let us talk to you.
Let's begin this Battle Royale episode of The Source. We're going to have some questions here, and it's not really questions that need to be answered, it's questions that need to be discussed.
Nah.
And
No
the first
answers,
thing-
just discussions.
Yes, and the first thing that came to my mind today was, hey, here's something that has never been covered in my opinion, or I've really heard about.
Yes.
What are the top 5 factions
Ooh.
of all time?
Okay,
And
yeah. That's a
I
good
think
one.
it's gonna, I'm gonna do this on the fly, so it's not like a lot of thought has gone into this and research. It's just
Right.
kind of off the top of my head, and I think the very best faction
Let's hear it.
of all time is the NWO.
Ooh, that is hard to argue
Yeah.
with for
and
sure.
Sure, it was on WCW, the lesser organization.
Doesn't
Sure,
matter.
It was
The
this and that,
popularity was there.
But I mean, I really do believe the DX kind of copied and followed their lead. You know, what
I mean,
a little bit. It's
the
kind of the same
NWO,
setup,
the NWO was pivotal.
Yeah.
And you had so many members at one point that we even had Dennis Rodman in the
Yeah.
NWO. This is a guy.
There was a lot of members.
Yeah, this is a guy that was skipping Chicago Bulls practice to go hang out with Hulk Hogan in the NWO. So that is a very, very
That is true.
hard argument.
So I'd have them at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Number 2, DX.
and I'm gonna agree. I was gonna go DX at 2.
Yep, number 2.
Because without DX, you don't have the Monday Night Wars as much. You don't have a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the attitude-y, quote unquote, attitude era stuff. I think came right from DX's heart, pretty much.
Absolutely, I completely agree. The number 3 faction I have as a current one would be the Bloodline.
Oh, they got to be up there.
I think that
they
they
got to be
definitely
high up
belong
there.
in the conversation.
Yeah,
for sure.
and the fact that The Rock is there now as the High Chief just elevates it that much more. And you got to put some respect on the Bloodline's name for sure. Yeah, I
The
agree.
number 4 faction that I would put in this list,
Number 4.
would be the Horsemen.
I was going to say that's the perfect 4. The
I
4
think-
horsemen at
yeah.
4.
It really
very,
is.
very legendary group. Most of them are no longer with us, but we do have a few original horsemen left, like Ric Flair, Arn Anderson. They're definitely, in my mind, too, Mike. They deserve to be there for sure.
And number 5 for me, I don't know the exact name. Maybe you could help me.
Okay.
It was the faction, the corporation with Vince McMahon.
It was the corporation.
And honestly,
Corporation
that's
was
number
great.
5 for me. But below that,
I'm gonna twist that
I
in a
have
second.
some
Go ahead.
runners up. The runners up, I have the Brood.
Oh,
I
you
have
got-
Evolution.
Yeah,
and
of
I
course.
have the Judgment Day.
Judgment
Those are my
Day,
runners
yeah.
up.
Judgment Day has been paving the way.
They're gonna have to go a little
as a
longer
faction.
to buy
Yeah.
me in.
One that I wanted to take a twist on when you said corporation, one of my favorite factions that ever happened in history was the corporate ministry. If you guys remember
That was a
that.
cool one. I
it
didn't
was
really
when
like it, though.
Undertaker
Yeah.
got involved, and this is when Stone Cold Steve Austin was put up on an Undertaker symbol and crucified at
Yes.
the end of a Monday Night Raw. Like,
It's
how
true.
cool is that?
I guess maybe
You know?
you're right. But
was awesome.
I wasn't a fan.
It was
so
awesome.
I'm kind of biased. So my bias is coming in here.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Your bias is
so
showing.
what's your top 5 then listed? Because I have NWO, DX, I have the Bloodline, I have the Horsemen, and I have the Corporation.
Okay, so I will agree with you that NWO is number 1. All right.
Excellent.
Number 1 for sure. Number 2, I'm going to say 4 Horsemen.
Oh, wow.
All right. I'm going to put them at 2 because they were pretty much the first faction, the first group that I can remember in life, and if
That's
it wasn't
why I
for
can't
the
put
way.
them so high.
No, I hear
you. They were
you.
so new and not evolved. You know what I mean?
The 4 Horsemen, I would say, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, got to go Degeneration X
Okay,
here.
all right, yeah.
You're saying top 5. You need top 5.
Need
All right,
5.
3 is DX. Number 4, I would go Evolution. Evolution was
Okay.
fantastic.
One of my runners up.
Yeah, and man,
I think you had the Ministry of...
yeah, the Corporate Ministry.
Yeah.
Corporate Ministry. I'll go number 5.
Now, they weren't called the Ministry of Darkness?
Well, the Ministry of Darkness
Separate?
was just Undertaker's separate regime
discuss.
/ faction when that first came along with Mideon, Viscera, the Acolytes.
Yes.
And then it all intertwined into the Corporate Ministry once Mr. McMahon got involved.
Absolutely.
Let us talk to you.
Well, that kind of wraps up that chat.
Sure
The
does.
next thing that we have on the docket to talk about, in my opinion, would be Raquel Rodriguez.
Oh, Raquel.
There's been reports in the
Many.
last couple days.
Many reports.
That Raquel Rodriguez is actually being released by the WWE. She's no longer on the website. What's going on with Raquel?
She has been taken off the active roster. Like we talked about the other day, man. Like you saw her condition at the Elimination Chamber. She looked different. She was going through flare-ups and stuff. And I did some research on this, and I can't remember the name of the ailment that she has, but it's rough. It's definitely rough. So hopefully she can take some time off, get back to where she was, because she just returned. And
So
she
already
made a statement.
She already missed a month of action. She was diagnosed with mast cell activation
There it is.
syndrome.
Yep, mast cell. Yep.
She did return.
I hear it's not easy to deal with.
She did return February 19th on an episode of WWE Raw, which we can all remember. And she did compete in the WWE Elimination Chamber.
And she looked great.
But it seems that she's listed with other sideline talent right now. She's not on the active roster.
Yeah.
She's on the sideline talent. So much rumors swirling around. She's going to AEW. She's going there.
Well,
I
she
think
would crush
something
there.
medically happened to her.
Yes. It's
I
that
was
mast
starting
cell.
to think myself that she was going to AEW
She
because
would do great there.
yeah, she's a big fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
And in AEW, she'd be a big fish in a
Smaller pond,
And
yeah.
she'd probably get more money because Tony
Tony
Khan
Khan
is
just, he's got the money.
Got that checkbook.
He gave he gave Mercedes Moné more money than WWE could handle, and also Tony Khan gave Will Ospreay way more money than WWE could handle, and that was quoted from Will Ospreay himself on Chris Jericho's podcast that just came out.
It's almost a great move for WWE.
Yeah, for sure.
AEW overspending, killing their profits. And
but they got Will Ospreay.
Sure, but we don't even need him. Well, when I say we, like I'm in the WWE. WWE
right.
doesn't even need him.
Right, yeah,
They
right
don't.
now, where would he fit in? You're
He
right.
wouldn't.
But back to Raquel.
He'd be a waste of amazing talent.
It
is
would
what
be.
he would be.
It would be. Back to Raquel now. I thought she was gonna, have herself a run again, being in the Elimination Chamber. But obviously, with this mast cell disease, it's tough.
Which we're just as kind of assuming because it is unclear whether this is due to injury or stems from her health issues. She's just listed with other talents who are out of action now instead of on the active roster.
Right, like
which is a little better than
alumni.
they're painting it online, honestly.
Yeah, like alumni section, excuse me,
Yes.
or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we're going to move forward here to another, interesting topic of discussion.
Yes.
What I want to know is Jimmy versus Jey. I know we beat it up a little bit before, but there's more to discuss. Now we're going to discuss, how does it compare? It's not, do we need it anymore? It's not, is it going to happen?
Yeah.
Because it's happening.
It's confirmed.
Now, Jimmy versus Jey, on another Battle Royal episode, we're going to discuss how does it compare to Owen Hart versus Bret Hart or Hardy versus Hardy at WrestleMania. Take it, Joe.
Okay, so Bret versus Owen was huge. It was at WrestleMania 10, for all you old school heads that remember. And that match was one of the first of its kind that I remember seeing. Maybe even the first of its kind. Definitely first for brother versus brother at WrestleMania. And
It was the first, yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah. And I feel like that was a barn burner. Like Bret and Owen went out there and said, you know what, man, let's just show these people that we can both hang. And, the Hitman's not just a superior one here like he always was, and they had Owen get over and win the match with the sharpshooter, I thought it was great. And now how this can compare is, once again, same scenario, big brother versus little brother. And I think they can go multiple ways with this. What I'm envisioning, not even thinking about it, what I'm envisioning is that it being a really, really close match, yes, but Jey Uso is just so hot right now. Jimmy Uso is definitely on the lower back burner, in my opinion, for popularity. Even though he's a heel, I see Jey Uso taking him out and really sticking it to him. Little brother beats big brother. History repeats itself from WrestleMania 10, Brett and Owen. That's where I'm at with it.
I see this as a coming out party for Jimmy. He actually landed his best promo to date.
He really did, though.
Over on,
he really did.
I think it was SmackDown last week. We talked about that.
It was sick. It was ruthless.
He looked like a different Jimmy.
He did.
I'm like, okay.
He wasn't that goofy,
wow.
no yeet guy.
He was, he was serious. He was, showing off those big white teeth of his.
They all got them,
Joe,
too.
I got to know, man, how do you rank Owen versus Brett and Hardy versus Hardy? Which is the better one as it stands right now?
Okay.
Which was the better match?
All right. I obviously have seen both. I loved Matt versus Jeff. I really did. It had a crazy story to it, too. Lots of weapons and all that stuff. But if we're just going to pure wrestling talent and not big extreme spots, I got to go with Brett versus Owen.
How about overall?
What do you mean?
Like, overall, what was the better?
The better match, in my opinion, is Bret Hart versus Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10. It don't get no better. You go back and rewatch it.
I agree.
The ability that they both had, and the timing and the play off of each other, and the crowd was invested.
Sharpshooter
in
versus
that match.
sharpshooter.
Yeah, and who could do it better? King of Hearts versus the excellence of execution.
That's true.
It was the King of Hearts that took it down at WrestleMania 10.
I think Hardy versus Hardy. For me, being a WWE fan that's watched since the mid to early
times.
90s, really.
Yeah.
That Owen versus Brett is the more important one because it was the first, because that brotherhood was so epic, I mean?
You never thought that it would come to that.
And because one is no longer alive.
Yeah,
so that makes it a little more legendary for me.
Over the Edge, 99.
The Hardy brothers, I think I've mentioned on the show, I've never liked them.
I love them.
I never have. I've always thought they were annoying. I don't like their style. They look like they have a bunch of tribal tattoos and they wear jinkos. It's just not my style. You know what I mean? I like Owen versus Brett a lot more in this scenario.
Wrestling match, yes.
That's my number one so far. But my question to you would be, does Jimmy versus Jey have the potential to be better than Owen versus Brett?
I would say in this day and age, theatrically, yes. Wrestling wise, wrestling skills, no. In my opinion, no. But in theatrics and production and the build, all that stuff, I think that can all be better. Just not the match itself.
So do you think that Jimmy versus Jey can go down as the best brother versus brother WrestleMania match of all time? Do you think it has that potential, or do you think it has a medium? Maybe it will fall in between, Owen and Brett and Hardy versus Hardy.
I think it'll fall in between those matches. That's just my opinion. It's going to be great. I can't stress this enough. I still think the match is going to be great, but it's just not going to be that caliber for me.
Now, moving on to our next topic of discussion here, I believe it's only right to work in some AEW chatter.
We're the WWE,
we're a little
AEW
WWE
podcast.
Heavy these days on these questions.
I mean, how could we not be?
I know it's definitely dominating, but I want to know something. Will we see unified trios championships in AEW with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang officially at each other's throats and broken up and now enemies? Will we see a unified title match? Will they unify these championships? Why would they unify the championships? What do you think?
I think it is possible, especially now with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang being over with. You look at the Acclaimed Trios champions, with Daddy Ass, Trios champions there. You look at the other side, Bullet Club Gold, it's the ROH tag team champions. It's very close, Matt Taven is one of the champions. He's a great wrestler. Saw him wrestle in Rhode Island many times when he was working the indies. I think they have a chance right now to, if they do this, I think they have a chance right now to do something big with the tag team championships, because in my opinion, the ROH tag team titles don't have a lot of relevance right now. If they combine them and unify into the true AEW Trios championships, I mean, it just smells like money, doesn't it? Yeah. Especially with that match, Jay White and those dudes and Bullet Club Gold versus the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the whole point of them even coming together to form the Bang Bang Scissor Gang was for this match, was for this rivalry, was for a title versus title match.
It was a good run. I'm not going to lie. It was a quick run, but it was a good one.
Yeah. Can you just explain to the people what the ROH Championship is compared to the AEW Trios Championships?
All right, if I could,
because they might not know.
Yeah, ROH is it used to be a very prestigious company that talent like Seth Rollins, Bryan Danielson, all these guys would go there and and work their way up before they went to WWE, even CM Punk himself. But now Tony Khan has purchased Ring of Honor, and it's one of his like one-off shows that nobody sees. These titles, the level of credibility they have is very, very low. They're trying, I think, to boost that with with Bullet Club Gold having the titles and all that. But I just really, really don't see it.
Now, who do you think wins in this matchup? Do you think it's going to be the Scissor Gang, or do you think it's going to be the Bullet Club Gold? I call them the Scissor Gang because there's a scissor part of it. I don't say Bang Bang, just Scissor Gang, because they're the scissors,
Everyone loves the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
And that's who I'm going with. I'm going with the Acclaimed.
Yep, I just think that
Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, Daddy Ass, they got it. They got it going for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think Daddy Ass has the edge over Switchblade
Jay White. Yeah, I mean, he's got the experience, and he's still shredded in his 60s, but you can't count Switchblade out. That dude, before he got to AEW, he has done every major thing in every wrestling promotion just about, besides World Wrestling Entertainment. That dude definitely has gained my respect for sure.
Absolutely. He's grown on me a little bit too. I wasn't too high on him when he was feuding with MJF, but I've liked him more recently, so interested to see where that goes. So we're both picking the Acclaimed to win the Trios Unified Championships.
If it happens.
Let's see if our prediction is right, as others have been.
Yes.
Now, here's the question. Okay, we've all seen him on TV. John Cena talking about how he's free for WrestleMania. He's totally free. He's made it known. He said it. He's been asked questions about it. He hasn't said no. What do you think? If we do see John Cena at WrestleMania, what happens?
Here's what I think.
How do we see him? How does it get worked in?
Here's what I think. It's not going to be, he's not going to have an actual match. We don't really need that. We saw last year, with Austin Theory that we didn't really need that. And nothing came out of it for Theory, unfortunately. But I think if you throw John Cena into the mix at WrestleMania 40, he can be the guy to come out and take down The Rock. They have history. With The Rock being the final boss, who else better to take out the final boss than the quote-unquote GOAT? You know what I mean? I think if it's not anybody else and The Rock is out there about to cost Cody Rhodes this championship, you can count on John Cena to come out there and help him and literally proverbially and literally pass the torch to Cody Rhodes as being the next top guy. That's where I'm at.
I like it. That's kind of how I would see it happening. I could see, Cody Rhodes has Jey Uso. He has Seth Rollins.
Oh, yeah.
How do you get the fourth? You got to go John Cena to battle The Rock.
Right. Yeah. And they've battled before. They've had mega battles.
But if this doesn't happen that way and he does not get involved in bloodline affairs, I would say it happens like this. This is, if not, second choice, okay? If Cena does show up to WrestleMania, I think he just comes out to introduce WrestleMania in the beginning, maybe.
Okay.
And I think
he might be part of some kind of big moment like that.
He's done this before where he'll come out, he'll introduce WrestleMania, and he'll talk about how he's not fighting this year.
Right.
And blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then somebody will come out, challenge him to a match, and he'll have some scrub 10-minute 5-minute match like it's happened before.
Yeah,
he'll hit those.
He'll hit those 5 moves of doom, and everyone will love it. Yes.
Yeah.
From both ends, burning the candle at both ends. I like both ideas. I wouldn't be mad at either one.
We all
of them.
want the bloodline idea to happen, but we don't always get what we want, so we got to have a second choice.
Yeah, right. We got to have some other options, and I think it's pretty likely, seeing that Cena is free and he has a known history with The Rock. So, we'll just keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Now, we've touched upon Brock Lesnar a little bit in other battle royals. We're taking it a step further, changing the question a little bit. When will we see Brock Lesnar? And do we even need Brock Lesnar?
Ooh, and that's the toughie, man. Because if we do see him, I think it'll be awesome. I do. Especially if he's free of all these allegations, then bring him in. But where does he fit right now? My only choice, my brain is telling me that Sami Zayn loses the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. Gunther is celebrating. He's loving life. He's raising the title up, and then that beast music hits. And Brock just comes out and stares him down from the stage, letting him know that he's coming for him. I think that's what I see for Brock Lesnar making a return, because the heavyweight title picture is really, really stacked and full. We kind of need some fluff in the mid-card, I would say. So saying that Brock Lesnar coming and going after the Intercontinental Championship, it fits the legitimacy of the championship now. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. All the news outlets that I'm seeing as I'm Googling right here are all saying the same thing today. All the same thing was released today. It all says, there's 3 articles in a row that pop up first saying it would be very bad publicity for the WWE to bring them back. It's all just hoopla, and they don't see it happening because why? You got a great WrestleMania going. Why are you going to get edgy with it and add him? Why is it needed? We have a good WrestleMania already. Bring him out after when it's clear.
Maybe on Raw the next night, because the Raw after Mania is crazy. It's always nuts. Usually a return or two. I support that for sure.
Dutch Mantel was also quoted in saying, put a little distance in between these charges and bringing them back, which I kind of just said. He says, I think that'll get them a lot of bad blood, bad publicity.
Yeah, and that's what they don't want, especially with how well they're doing right now. And Dutch Mantel's very well respected. For WWE fans, you might remember him from managing Jack Swagger, the All-American. He came out with him during that We the People run and all that good stuff. Dude has some good wrestling opinions, so I'm going to agree as well. We don't want bad press. We don't want bad publicity for WWE. We can wait on Brock. We really have a cesspool of talent right now, just, itching to get their spot.
So from what I'm seeing online, it looks like it is too soon to be seeing him at WrestleMania, so temper your expectations. You're more likely to see a John Cena appearance, seeing as though he's free for that weekend. Hey, maybe The Undertaker will come out and just talk. Who knows?
It's WrestleMania 40. It's a big one. If you remember 30, we'll go there right now. At 30, at the beginning of the show, we had a massive segment in the ring to start the show with Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin all being in the same ring at the same time, lighting the crowd up with their catchphrases. It was the 30th. Now this is the 40th, so it's another decade. I think we see another moment like that as well, and he could be part of it.
Oh, absolutely. So if it is too soon to see Brock Lesnar, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he comes out after that Gunther match, but here's how I see it, okay?
Yeah.
Time heals wounds.
Especially
if nothing is convicted or anything like that. I don't think there's a rush to get him back, but I do see this. I agree. Okay, I think that it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Gunther at SummerSlam.
Ooh, that would hit.
Which gives Gunther probably a 3 to 4 month off to just finally rest.
Yeah,
and finally
he has not rested very long.
Missed a little bit. And then I think you take him back. He wins the Royal Rumble and challenges Cody Rhodes for the championship. Or maybe he challenges whoever the other champion is for the championship.
Right, the World Heavyweight. I can see Gunther rocking that World Heavyweight championship.
I don't see him Universal yet. I think step is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship first.
Yeah.
I think this sets up Gunther after SummerSlam to start his WrestleMania push, promo for that, to win the Rumble, to whatever he's got to do.
We know he can do it. We know he can do it. He came damn close 2 years in a row.
And that's kind of why I think so as well, because he did come so close 2 years in a row that it's only right that he goes over the hump next year and gets his heavyweight championship title match. And then I'm going to go even deeper with it. I think that, if McIntyre does take the championship, I told you I really do hope and pray that Seth does, and it sets up Seth versus CM Punk for SummerSlam. So I do think it's either going to be CM Punk versus Seth for the championship at SummerSlam, or it's going to be McIntyre and CM Punk for the championship at SummerSlam. And I think that is going to be, the run from there, which leads to Gunther. So it's going to be a holdover champion. They get the championship for 6 months or 7 months, whatever the case may be.
Decent run.
And then, CM Punk gets a nice little run for himself that he's never really had with the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, not with that particular one, yes. So he has won it before, but it was a short reign. And from what I'm seeing right now,
lines up CM Punk and Gunther at WrestleMania. Which
now
CM
imagine
Punk
that match.
Wants that
imagine that match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, And from what I'm seeing on Punk lately, to dive into him, his rehab's going amazingly. He's being advertised for next week.
He's working out with the arm.
Yep. He's working out with it. He's getting comfortable again, and he's advertised for next week on Monday Night Raw. And also, he can't. And I like this part. I don't know if you saw this promo. It was sprinkled in on Monday Night Raw. It was him training, and then he goes, "Listen, guys, WrestleMania is in Philly this year. And what's the first 4 letters of Philadelphia? It's Phil.
He'll be there.
You can't have WrestleMania 40 in Philly without Phil. Does he host the show? Does he referee Drew McIntyre's match? Man, there's the possibilities."
And let's just add in, while we're on the topic, that Booker T did come out. He did say that, contrary to popular belief, he considers CM Punk a friend. There was no beef. Don't take it literally, like the internet said.
It was just backstage
don't
chatter.
Take it serious. Don't jump in the mud. That's what Booker T says.
And he's a 5-time WCW champion. 5 times.
That's good to see. And then to close this, I'm gonna close this by doing what I always do. I'm gonna type MJF news into
coming at
Google.
Dun dun dun.
MJF's gonna cost. A tweet that says from Sportskeeda says MJF gonna cost Cody Rhodes at Mania. WWE Universe goes berserk. After massive tease.
Imagine. That is his protege. Don't forget. Cody is the reason why MJF is at the level he is right now. He really stepped him up.
Because DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, posted images of himself, MJF, and Cody, and Dustin Rhodes.
They're tight.
And he captioned it, "Will they meet again?" So it's kind of cryptic. We don't know what's going to happen, but MJF, I'd love to see you at WrestleMania, my man.
Oh, dude.
I think it'd be a waste to have him at WrestleMania. I think they got to focus on him outside all that going on. They got to really isolate him at Backlash or Money in the Bank. Or that'd be sick.
Have
if
him win the Money in the Bank,
right?
And then he's even more of a heel, a douchebag. He can just cash that in whenever he wants.
He's gonna screw him over. So that's our questions and discussions for today. Of any of the topics that you heard us talk about, we'd love to hear your thoughts on any of our outlets. We're everywhere: X, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. You can write to us and tell us what's going on.
And we will respond. We will get back to you. And now, before we go, we are going to end the show the way we always like to end the show, with a little bit of On This Day in Wrestling History. Mike, take it away with the notable wrestling birthdays, please.
On this day in wrestling history, our notable wrestling birthdays, we have Koji Iwamoto, 1990. So he's a youngin. Jonathan Gresham.
Yep, Gresham.
1988. We mentioned him earlier. We have Matt Taven at 1985. Jeff Parker, 1984. We have the wrestler Homicide
from TNA.
1977. And last but not least, Joe's gonna give you the last one because it's one of his favorite wrestlers, and not one of mine.
Last but not least, notable wrestling birthday. Happy birthday! It's Sting.
1959.
Thank you, Sting. Thank you, Sting. We miss you. But moving on this day in wrestling history, 1994, March 20th, 1994. We mentioned this as well earlier in the show. Wrestlemania 10 was held at Madison Square Garden in New York in front of 19,444 fans. And a fun fact, this was the first Mania that did not have Hulk Hogan on the card, and was the first time the WWF title was defended 2 times in one night at a WrestleMania pay-per-view event. It also featured the first televised ladder match in company history, with Shawn Michaels taking on Razor Ramon, the bad guy Chico, for the undisputed Intercontinental Championship. If you remember, there were 2 titles hanging up there because they both had it. They both said, I'm the real champion. You know, they settled that in the first ever televised ladder match on this day in wrestling history.
What a time. Now, there's another one that I think is pretty important to cover, okay?
Yeah.
1978, on this day in wrestling history, at Madison Square Garden in New York, superstar Billy Graham defeated WWF
Worldwide
champion
Wrestling Federation
Bob Backlund via referee stoppage due to Backlund receiving a cut over his eye. The title couldn't change hands due to stoppage, however, so Backlund lost the match but retained the belt. Now, this is interesting because this is a little piece of history here. If this match wasn't stopped or whatever, we might not see Backlund as the number 2 all-time
with that title
reigning champion.
Yes,
he might have lost it in 1978. Who knows what happened? I don't know. Maybe it was planned for him to lose the whole time. But the fact is that he lost on a stoppage, and the title was not allowed to change hands, which continued the second longest reign in wrestling WWE, WWF history.
Yes. And on this day in wrestling history, March 20th, 1983, since we're on the topic, in a non-title champion versus champion match in Madison Square Garden, New York, WWF champion at the time, Bob Backlund, defeated Intercontinental champion Don Morocco in a Texas death match. Didn't realize that Texas death matches were around back in '83 before I was on this planet. So thank you, Bob Backlund, and thank you, Don Morocco, for this Texas death match today in wrestling history.
Very nice. Very nice.
And this is going to end this episode 20 of the Source WWE, AEW, All Things Wrestling podcast. And we really, really thank you guys for listening. It really means a lot. Please follow the show. It takes 0 effort. Please rate the show. Also takes 0 effort. All you got to do is listen to 1 episode. You can even skip through it. Just follow the show. Rate the show. It's very important. The Source Wrestling podcast is available on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Follow us on X, Instagram, TikTok, your sister's ass, don't matter where it is, we are there. Once again, this is The Source, WWE, AEW, All Things Wrestling podcast with Joe
and Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us talk to you.
Hey, let us talk to you.
Can we please talk to you? Next time. Dummy. Yeah.